Okay, so today we're going to talk about a funding structure for what I call the next paradigm fund. It's a framework to take us into the next paradigm of business and finance. Why? Well, because paradigm shift isn't just a buzzword, it's actually happening. We are experiencing now and will continue to experience the fact that old models and paradigms are collapsing in business, finance, financial markets, governments, institutions, and new models are forming. We're going through kind of a breakdown before a breakthrough, and new models in finance, business, and communities are being built simultaneously. The next paradigm fund will build a bridge and a parallel path for humanity to have the solutions it needs as we enter this next paradigm while the shift continues to occur. So what we'll cover in the video will be aspects of a financial model for the next paradigm, portfolio of companies, the selection process of those companies, and a blueprint for success that you don't want to miss because it's something that no other fund uses. Okay, so this video is not a fully exhaustive model, but ideas that include aspects that existing funds aren't paying attention to. It is designed to, bring together and inspire people interested in building the next paradigm of business and finance together so that we can actively do it. Okay, so first let's cover some financial models and ways that we can reimagine capital. Now, one of the main overarching ways of a financial model, especially for the next paradigm, would be that business, finance, and investment models mimic natural principles and universal laws. Let's face it, nature has millions of years of success more than humans. It has a natural intelligence, an inherent intelligence, and even a mathematical precision that is much more adaptive, successful, and resilient. And we need to include this into our business and finance models. Not doing it is missing out on so much. It's like we're building a Jenga of ineffective math and a bad foundation that, of course, is going to topple over at any moment because it's not built within universal laws. So what would this look like? Well, instead of humans building things so linear and hierarchical, nature looks at things in circles and cycles. It's always rebalancing. It understands the aspect of expand and contract, or contract and then expand, of decay before there's growth. It's a systems approach, taking feedback and information in all aspects to be holistic and adaptive and resilient. So we can bring this into our business and our financial models to be much more successful in the long term, and also because then we're just in line with the laws of our physical planet. So what's an example? So VCs, right? VCs love hockey stick growth. Well, there's no hockey stick events in nature. They only occur when something has gone wrong, like, for example, an algae bloom or is out of balance. So why are we creating financial models that don't exist within universal principles and expecting them to succeed long term? In reimagining capital, we also need to redefine moonshot and risk. There are so many great solutions that can take us into the next paradigm. However, the people looking for support get the answer or get the response, hey, sorry, it's too early. We don't fund R&D. We don't fund proof of concept. But the next paradigm fund will have a new definition of moonshot, where the potential benefit to humanity or society or to the planet is so high that the greater risk is not to try. Portfolio, selection of companies, innovations, systems. Overarching aspect, the portfolio of the next paradigm fund would have a systems mindset, would understand biomimicry, obviously nature's intelligence, and nature-based solution as much as technology. In the next paradigm fund, this concept of a circular economy would be a matrix economy, because there exist solutions today that when integrated could create a matrix economy. And what I mean by that is that multiple waste streams can become multiple inputs or outputs or secondary products or additional revenue streams or job creation and more. So expanding from circular to matrix is part of the systems mindset, and ensuring that technology, of course, is part of the Next Paradigm Fund, but to make sure that technology isn't used as a band-aid or to replace what nature can do cheaper, or can do better. Okay, so let's give an example. Carbon sequestration. There exist solutions, nature-based solutions today that can scale. And when they do, can sequester lots of carbon in an affordable manner and have multiple additional benefits for our ecosystem and planet. So for example, regenerating soil, detoxifying water, increasing agricultural yields, and creating supply chains for multiple products that are low carbon. And this can happen now for pennies on the dollar when compared to high-tech carbon sequestration solutions that are unproven and will take billions of dollars to develop. So let's do what nature can do now and have additional benefits that the high-tech solutions maybe don't have, okay? So the portfolio will be split into kind of two aspects in the Next Paradigm Fund. It would have an immediate scaling of shovel-ready solutions, because there's a lot in food, water, soil, housing, energy that just needs to be scaled, okay? But also understanding that there are solution sets that will leapfrog what can scale now, and to not be threatened by these leapfrog solutions. Because today some funds are threatened because then it threatens their portfolio. But the Next Paradigm Fund will ensure that there's a plan and a preparation both in the financial model and in the execution and scaling model to do what we need to do now and make way for these leapfrog solutions. Now, the portfolio will support obviously food, water, soil generation, self-sustaining sovereign community designs. I've included a sector for frequency applications because I just am passionate about this and feel that this is highly undervalued and overlooked in existing funds. So, we understand the value of frequency and the information that comes through that because it's how you're watching this video or how you answer your phone. And just as that can happen in a technological standpoint, frequency can transmit information that can also improve the efficiency, health, purity of plants, water, humans, soil. And this is just being overlooked and needs more data and showing and scaling of these solutions because there's a lot that can happen and blends the nice world of the tech and nature together. Okay, so of course, in the Next Paradigm Fund, we're also going to look at DeFi and decentralized finance, ways that we create new financial models, currencies, incentivization of how we can regenerate our planet, our societies, and so many new ways of finance. And of course, within this model, because we're paying attention to the decentralized finance, we're also paying attention to nature-based solutions. We can include the existing funding structures and bake them in to a funding model, for example, carbon credits, carbon bonds, other types of bonds, different ways, so we can bake it all together and continue to be really creative in how financial models can continue to occur for specific company types. Okay, so the Next Paradigm Fund is also going to do something that I don't see any fund doing, and it needs to happen. And that is rapid testing of integrated community design. Now, what does that mean? Well, there's a lot of existing solutions for, let's say, food, water, housing, energy, but they're all being developed in silos. And what we need to do is on smaller scales, put them together and see what works well together so that we can take the feedback, take the data points, and more quickly have a turnkey solution for communities, for things we're dealing with right now, for climate migration, disaster relief, etc. We got to work systemically and take this feedback and build a better model. So the Next Paradigm Fund will have a selection process that adds and kind of includes some aspects that traditional funds don't have. And one of them is because I feel that we are really missing some of the greatest solutions because of the way the portfolio selection process is done. So there are these people, I call them the next paradigm or the new paradigm wizards, and they're systems designers. And they think very holistically and have looked at multiple, solutions to many problems and systems design. And these people don't make it to Silicon Valley. And their solutions aren't necessarily linear or simple, or because they solve multiple problems at once, even if it's in a simplified manner, you can't necessarily pitch in 30 seconds. So we've got to not miss these geniuses and have a more personal, connected, and supportive way of selecting the right companies, innovators, and solutions. Let's bring them to us. Let the geniuses be themselves. Understand their why, how they saw the world, and ensure that they're able to work with other technologies, systems, and solutions in an integrated way, because that's what we're doing. And if they don't have every aspect of the plan or the financial model perfected, if there's a there, we need to support them and make sure they get built in. So the success blueprint for the next Paradigm Fund, like I mentioned, is going to have some aspects that no other fund uses to ensure the success of the portfolios and the companies that are selected. Now, of course, some funds exist and do holistic support. The next Paradigm Fund will have a brain trust of mentors and experts in business and finance and strategy and science and legal and marketing and all that good stuff, in addition to the support they need emotionally, in communication and leadership and wellness, physical, everything. Okay. Yet there's going to be one thing that the next Paradigm Fund that will address that is the most overlooked aspect needed for support in business and investing outcomes. Okay. Now, most funds try and do the best they can to look heavily on data and due diligence. But despite so much data, they can get the rug pulled underneath them. They can still lose big or not see something coming. But the next Paradigm Fund is going to address the data points that other funds ignore and identify more of the unknowns. So instead of just looking on the surface, what we can see and analyze, the next Paradigm Fund focuses on the fact that business is made of people. Every aspect of business really comes down to people. And it's how they behave, how they act, and how they make decisions that really makes or breaks results. So the next Paradigm Fund will address the root of human behavior because it's the root of business behavior. And the root of human behavior lies in the neuroscience of the mind. So we're going to unpack this a little bit because of its imperative aspect to business and investment success. You see, the mind has two parts. We have our conscious mind, logic, reason, intellect. We have our subconscious mind under our conscious awareness, which includes memories, experiences, beliefs, attitudes. And even though we live in a business world and an investment world that worships the conscious mind, logic, analysis, according to cognitive neuroscientists, the conscious mind only controls 5% of human behavior. And 95% of a person's actions, behavior, and decisions are driven by the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is coded like a computer program, if you think of it like that. And the coding comes from experiences and memories. It could be recently or all the way back to childhood. Beliefs that we create from these experiences and memories about ourselves or beliefs about the world. Beliefs from our parents, society, and culture. Stress that is unresolved lives in our subconscious. It's an imbalanced brain. And this is just coding output. So how does that work? Well, the subconscious code or program could have a belief or maybe stress that is unresolved that is coded and creates a default behavior, action, or decision, which then creates the habitual replay of the same belief or same stress. So if the belief is negative or limiting or not aligned with what you want as the outcome, then that loop will occur. If it's positive or aligned with the outcome, then that positive outcome will occur. It's a loop, it's a code. And there's no difference between business or personal. If somebody created a belief from childhood, let's say, I just don't get the respect I deserve, they got maybe from their brother or a parent, that belief still shows up in the experience of business. Maybe they don't get respect from an investor or a business partner or a colleague. Okay. So this is why the subconscious mind controls 95% of the day. And in a world where we want to be as effective in time management, it's really fascinating we're not discussing this. And even though the subconscious mind has been around since the 1700s and is a cornerstone of psychology, it's not until recently that the business media world is actually discussing it, how it runs our life, controls consumer decisions, its role in market behavior, etc. There's the 95%. So it's time we really, if we're starting to talk about this, there's still no fund or business model that really looks at and addresses this aspect of subconscious. And the good news is these programs in our subconscious that create that loop, they can be recoded if they're limiting. And the next Paradigm Fund is going to use a team of facilitators who are experts in a cutting edge neuroscientific process that, quote, can recode a subconscious program somebody's had their whole life in a matter of minutes. Now, this quote comes from Bruce Lipton, PhD and author of Biology of Belief, because of his recommendation writing about this process and his own use for it. But the fascinating thing is that now with a simple and effective neuroscientific process, we can go to companies and teams and identify any subconscious beliefs that are limiting, recode them, put a positive belief in its place, and verify that the change has occurred in order to be most effective. So now 95% of the day is aligned with the results that these companies want instead of being hijacked by inefficient coding. And we can also code for a blueprint for success, everything from sales and revenue to ensuring that projects go smoothly, teams work well together, resilience, and of course, maximum impact for people, planet, profit, and purpose. Because if we want that business model of the 4 Ps, we've got to believe it's possible, and everyone creating it needs to too. So the next Paradigm Fund will be the first fund to recognize the neuroscience of consciousness as a business and performance asset. Because the old model doesn't pay attention to this. There's no subconscious reprogramming in how the fund approaches its companies and teams, and of course gets returns that are disjointed, surprises, stress, and breakdowns. But the next paradigm funding model will look at the root of human behavior, reprogram the subconscious to make sure that it's optimized and coded for the success and the results we want, have better returns, and of course, additional benefits for community, collective, planet, and prosperity. So now you can see there are some aspects to the next paradigm if we were to create and continue to use a funding model that brings us into it, what some of the financial model would be, the portfolio of companies, the selection process, and a blueprint for success that codes for the optimal results by paying attention to what drives human behavior. So let's build the bridge to the next paradigm together. If any aspect of this inspires you or you're interested in incorporating it into your own business, financial model, or investment framework, feel free to reach out and see how we can collaborate. Thanks.